which is the four elements and everything, and was resurrected and born again, reborn, like the phoenix in Egypt. And they've used this Nazarene character, this fictitious archetype, this fictitious Jewish archetype, to manipulate and control the world. And it's not even real. There are different influences out there, different aliens that have been using the Greys, for example. Many people have seen them while meditating. They've used the Nazarene as their vehicle to spiritually enslave the world. And they made a deal with the Vatican. And there's different enemy Nordics and different Greys that will fill in for this fictitious character and try to convince a handful of deluded idiots that it's real, and it's not. If you do enough studying, that Nazarene is not real at all. And that's why there's been so many, they say, he's different races, he's different, he's this, he's that. There's some in the book of John, they claim he was a homosexual, so he can appeal to the homosexual people. They claim that he was married to Mary Magdalene, so that, nowadays sex is free, which it wasn't years ago. So, the Virgin Nazarene is a turnoff. So now all of a sudden he has a girlfriend and a wife. I already wrote about that, the ubiquitous Nazarene. I mean, he's everywhere. He's all over the place. And he changes according to the times, because he's nothing more than a tool used by the Christian church to enslave humanity, make us give up all of our occult power and knowledge. And actually, all of our spiritual powers and everything are lost if we believe in that garbage, because they think that this idiot archetype is supposed to swoop down and save all these deluded fools that have a much lower IQ or just are too darn lazy to study or do any research or even think for themselves for a minute. Most of them are cowards that are controlled by fear, and they think that if they stop living, and basically that's what Christianity is. It's a death religion. Don't do this, don't do that. Don't think, don't question, don't ask, don't have sex, control every little thought. They think some spook's hovering over their head, watching their every little thought. And they think they're going to be rewarded for this in some paradise. Well, just as I've all explained, they're very sadly deluded. And you just do the research, it's there. The color black. A lot of us Satanists are attracted to the color black. We wear the color black. And what that has to do is with an alchemy and transformation of the soul. It's a stage. It's also represented by the raven, which is a sacred bird in Satanism, and in alchemy, which is the basis of spiritual Satanism. And it's transformation of the soul, and in the Norse religions, they're the ancient Norse religions, the original religions. It had to do with the black before the dawn. It was like in anticipation of a very positive change. But again, enemies have twisted this. And the red, same thing. The soul goes through a certain red stage when you're working with it. And it has to do with transformation. It's nothing negative. It doesn't have to do with death and blood, like a lot of the enemy would try to have our people believe. And they've used the media as a tool as well. Everything that has to do with alchemy, like the Raven, bioelectricity in the Frankenstein movies, The Exorcist, where the young 12-year-old girl contorts like she would in yoga, the levitation, all of it, they try to subliminally equate that with scariness or horror, because it does influence the mass mind, and those of us who aren't frightened of it or don't have a problem with it are actually in a minority, even though education is becoming more widely available. Raising the devil. The devil is another word, code word for the serpent, the Kundalini serpent. So when you raise the devil, you're raising the Kundalini. And because, okay, like Thoth in ancient Egypt, the animal heads of the gods also have to do with alchemy. The ancient Egypt was a very, very important center of spiritual alchemy. Alexandria, and how the Christians burned the library there. It was the greatest library in all of the ancient world. And the bird, the dove, and the crow, the ibis, the swan, the pelican, different birds, they all have to do with transforming the soul in the different stages. They're symbolic. So again, you have the ancient legend of Zayasudra twisted and warped into the Christian Jewish character Noah and the ark, and you had the raven that he sent out over the waters that didn't come back, because at the black stage of alchemy the work is not yet completed until you get to the white stage of the soul, which I'm going to have instructions very soon on my website on how to do this. I'm working at it within the groups. And it's all an allegory that was stolen. The Sumerian Zayasudra and Enki and the Ark, okay? The Jews stole it and put it into the Christian Bible, made it into a Jewish character, and made it as literal. Now what all this has done, all of this knowledge, Jacob's coat of colors, he was another character that was stolen. His coat of colors is his aura. The 12 apostles of the Nazarene are just as fictitious as the Nazarene. And what they are, they represent the 12 signs of the zodiac. And when the Nazarene said to Peter, his apostle, which is represented by the sign of Aries, "Upon this rock I will build my church," that was stolen from the legend of King Arthur. Remember Arthur and the sword? For those of you, he pulled the sword out of the rock and he became king. And he also had 12 knights of the round table. And the number 13 is very, very powerful, because there are not 12 steps, there are 13 in alchemy. The 13th step is hidden, same as the 49th call and the Enochian calls. You put it together and it all makes sense. And what the Christian church has done with this, as you can see, by making people believe that they're literal, these stolen legends, because it's all in our racial memory, in our subconscious memory, and the memory of our soul, they've used this to control. And they put their own words in there, in that Bible. And you can see that that certainly isn't any book of our Creator. Our Creator is Satan, Enki, Ea. There is no Jehovah. And the idiots who even say Jehovah, they're not even pronouncing it properly. And that Yod-He, Vav-He, YHVH, that's another misleading step where these occult lodges have just been screwed in the ass with it. And same thing as calling up the demons with the 9-foot circles and abusing them. All of that is literal. And it's misled people. And it's controlled people. And these church leaders and their cohorts have put all kinds of their own garbage in there for power and wealth and control. It's a book of lies. And it's been infused with occult power. And people who don't have any knowledge of the occult, people who believe it's bunk, people who don't know or they reject that it might even exist, they're all easily manipulated. And then you've got the atheists. There's some people that are just total atheists. And then there are those of us, I used to be an atheist for 15 years, who know that there's something else, that have had experiences that we couldn't explain, that there is something more that can't be explained with atheism. And you put it all together, and it all makes sense. But knowledge, represented by our God Satan, Lucifer, the devil, he's our true God and creator, is their greatest enemy. Because once you learn this knowledge, you can see the truth. And this power that they're hanging on to, and these trillions upon trillions of dollars, where people are trying to go, or they're coerced to go in a lot of cases, to these churches, these Christian churches, where they're reading these robotic prayers that are based on Eastern mantras, stolen. You got your rosary. The Catholic Church says, you know, I was raised Catholic, where you fumble these stupid little string of beads there with this filthy Nazarene hanging on a cross, ragged, tagged, and torn. And you're supposed to say these Hail Marys, and then they got a separate bead there. You're supposed to do the Our Father. I mean, it's just mindless garbage and trash. And worthless, I might add, and it's a total waste of time. And they were stolen from Tibetan mala beads. Because in meditation, when you get into really, really empowering your soul, you're going to have to do a vibration in your chakra, in certain chakras. Certain vibrations you may have to do as many as 50 or 60 times. And the Tibetan mala beads were there for actually consciously opening and empowering certain chakras. Not just sitting there mindlessly, you know, like a deluded idiot, chanting out some stupid Hail Mary or Our Father crap. It's so meaningless it isn't even funny. It's really, really sad. And the Bible has been infused with so much occult power and fear, and programmed to feed off of the energy, the psychic energy of Christians. And that's why a lot of us who are more sensitive, you open it and you start reading it, there's a certain, you can feel the fear in it. The negativity. It's a very, very negative book, to say the least. It's just infused with ugliness and extreme, it's just downright rotten. And you, in addition, these people that strongly believe in the literal hellfire and brimstone, if you read about the astral in depth, there are certain stages the soul goes through after death on the astral, to where the thoughts, all of the thoughts that have been programmed into the aura throughout the lifetime, especially if they're infused with strong emotion like fear, become real. And until that disintegrates, that person is in that hellfire and brimstone. There's also negative energy pockets. And I'll continue the rest of this in another sermon. Hail Satan.